Hi there, welcome to lesson 2 of the Encore music notation software tutorial. In this lesson I'm going to show you how to create new scores and what options to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up here to the File menu and select New, and you might see that there's a shortcut over here, Control N, so we'll be using that later on. So New gives me the option to make a new score. And this window pops open and it shows me a lot of options that I have available. The nice thing about Encore is it has a number of templates that have been created for different types of scores. So you can see that the one that's highlighted right now is a piano, and that's the one that's up there. That's the default one that appears. There's also voice and piano, and then big band, and then quite a few other things. Jazz combos, band and orchestras, wind quintets, quartets, string quintets, quartets, quite a few things. So let's create a piano one just to see what happens. And we'll go over here to where it says Create. So we'll press that. And there you go, it created a piano score for me, so now I have another working score that I can use. Let's do another one. I'll do Control N, and let's select the one that says Voice and Piano, and we'll see what happens here. We'll do a Create, and we'll get that. And so this time we have 3 staves, and we have the grand staff down here, and then we have the one for voice up above. So it's nice just to have these templates. I'll show you a couple of other ones. Control N gives me another one. And this time we'll look at the big band one to see what that's going to look like. So big band and then Create. And there we have all of the instruments in a big band. I'm just using the scroll bar or scroll thing on the menu to get down to the further staves. And the interesting thing about this one, if you look down at the trombone parts in bass clef, the clef has already been put in there for us. The piece as written is in the key of C, but then there's all these sharps up here, and that means that these parts have been transposed for the template. And the way the template got created is by transposing, so the bari sax and the alto sax parts have 3 sharps, and then there's tenor sax with 2 sharps. Trumpets all have 2 sharps as well. So everything's been transposed for the instruments the way that they're set up. Very, very nice feature. There's some other ones you can look at. Jazz combos, choir pieces. If I look at the string quartet, you can see what that's going to look like. And so in this case, everything's in the same key. The only thing that's different is that we have the alto clef for the viola. And then there's a number of things to look at, and one of those would be the different instruments are listed beneath each stave or before each stave. And then there's some text at the top, there's some text at the right. We'll be talking about that in future lessons, but one of the things I wanted to show you now is, if I go to New again, the way that some of the text gets put on there. And so I'll show you first the single staves that you can create. You can basically create your own template if you want to. And I press single staves, and then over here it gives me some options. So the number of staves per system, let's say I wanted to create a quartet. So I'm going to use 4. And then it asks me about some page layout things. How many do you want per page? I'm just going to say 2. And then how many measures per system, so how many measures on each line, and I'll say 4. And then I can just press that and do a create and see what happens. And so now I have my own quartet that I've set. I didn't tell it otherwise, so everything's in treble clef, but I can change that later. That's very easy to change. I wanted to show you one other thing with this, and that is with the single staves or with any of the staves, you can actually create and then use a wizard to set certain features on the score. So I'm going to do that here. I'll keep everything the same over here. So I'll do that. And the first thing it asks me is what the page setup is going to be. The main thing here is the page margins. So I have certain margins that are set right now. I can change all of those if I want to. I can change the orientation. There's a lot of things I can do. But so the margins are set with those options there. So I'll just leave it the way that it is. And then it asks me what key signature I'd like to use on the piece. So up here at the top, it says, let's start at this measure, go to that measure, and then this button is something that sets the final measure equal to the secondary measure. So I don't need to press that, but I could. And then what key signature do I want to be in? Well, if you press up, it goes into the sharps. If you press down, it goes into the flats. So let's set this in the key signature of E flat. And we'll talk about these options later. I'll come back and talk about this feature in a future lesson. And then the main thing to note down here is if I had notes on the score and I wanted to do transposing, then I could select that and it would do transposing either up or down based on the key and the notes. It would move the notes for me. So I'll just say OK for that. And then this is time signature, and we'll come back and talk about this in another lesson as well. This allows you to pick whatever time signature you want to or make up your own. And again, you have the number of measures that you can go from the beginning to the end or the beginning until a certain point. So I'm going to make this in 3/4 just to see what that's going to look like. And I'll say OK. And then this window is the one that allows me to put text at various places on the screen. I'm not going to do anything right now with this, but we will come back and talk about this in a future lesson. But this allows you to put the title and various things on the page, but I'm just going to leave it blank for now. And then something called the staff sheet appears. And this actually has a lot of options for it. The main one to note right now at the beginning is what's the size of the notes? And so it's set to be 3 at the moment. Well, you can change that. You can make it larger or smaller. The smallest one is number 1. That's a very small size note. And then it goes 2, 3, or 4. And 4 is a very large note. So depending on the type of music that you want to have, the size of the notes, 2 or 3 tends to be the most common ones. I use 3 a lot, and if I'm writing a lot of notes on the page, then I'll use 2. But that's just a matter of preference, and we can experiment with that. We'll come back and talk about this one as well. So I'm just going to close that for now. And there I go. I have the score that I created. It's in 3/4. It's in 3 flats, and that gives me what I want to have. So keep in mind that there are options. If I do new again and come over here, you have templates, all these templates. You have ways that you can set the different layout on the page. You can make a C score. You can use a handwritten style. Again, I'll come back and talk about this more later on, but I just wanted to show you some things. So that's it for this lesson. Stay tuned for other lessons. If you want to take a look at other lessons, they're on my webpage, which is listed here. And if you want more information about Encore, you can go to Passport Software, which is also listed here. We'll talk to you in the next lesson.